Hi, welcome to Up Your Nerd Cred. Did you used to know everything that was happening in the Marvel and DC universes? Did finding out that some superheroes are from Marvel and some are from DC blow your mind? Has keeping track of everything happening there and then realizing that we're only talking about the comic universes and not the cinematic ones, and that all these different universes with all their own multiversal crises, they've all gotten a little bit out of hand? Well, don't worry. Upper Nerd Cred is here to talk about the gods cosplaying as men, the men cosplaying as gods, and how much the cinematic universes are really leaving out. At the end of each episode, you'll hopefully know a little more than you did and can up your nerd cred. I'm your casual nerd host, CiCi. So, here's a fun fact, though, about me. I got really, really, really annoyed at the bugs eating the leaves off my pepper plants that I put, in my garden and everything. It's not a lot of garden that I have, but it's a little one, and I would like for my peppers to have a shot. So to save my pepper plants, I put a whole unlit citronella candle directly in the garden next to it. I'm in New York. It's been pretty hot out. I figure, like the citronella gets a little bit warm, whatever. It actually has worked like pretty well. My plants, my like I thought it would just be one pepper plant that grew, and all four of them are actually growing in ways that I did not expect them to. I'm really excited about this. But the problem that I'm running into is that there's a bit of a weird splash zone around the bottom of the plant, like from where it rains. So I'm just like, am I coming up with like some weird citronella peppers coming out? Am I going to develop like weird citronella powers? And also, the next question, really, honestly, the most important part about it is that I kind of feel way too much like Carrie from Sex and the City, trying to figure out, like, if the citronella smell from the candle would be enough to keep the mosquitoes from actually trying to lay eggs in the candle jar after water accumulated post-rainstorm. Because, we have rainstorms, and that's where they like to lay their eggs. And I mean, like, how much does the modern mosquito actually want to work for it? I mean, beyond the fact that we're just letting mosquitoes live anywhere. It's mess. So, it's also here where I'm ordinarily introducing our co-host, but as you will notice, once again, he is gone. I have, however, I have a note from him so that we can actually hear a little bit what's going on, and so here we go. Hey all, some good news and bad news. Good news, they have posted cast photos of Billy and Tommy Maximoff together, Joe Luck and Rardi Malika. I'm not gonna lie, this is a thing where I think that I am pronouncing it, and I will double check later. Anyway, again, because this is again from AM. I know that their souls possess the bodies of kids who are unrelated, but I gotta admit, it's a little weird that they don't look like actual identical twins like in the comics. And it's not even an annoyance, it just feels weird because magically looking alike is actually a plot point in how they found each other. Bad news is now Wanda's not feeling very trusting right now, so she's gonna go confirm things with them after picnic number 5. Yeah, so what this means is that he's also dealing with kind of the reality warper, so maybe we'll come back to him later. Yeah. So the first question, though, of our podcast is always, what are we nerding out about this week? Now, I think that it's not the first time that I've said this. It's not going to be the last time to say this, but listeners, you can nerd out about all kinds of things, okay? It does not have to be just heroes and villains, okay? Again, Washington is going crazy, release the Epstein files. That's all crazy. But also, James Dobson has just passed, so there's a lot of people who are going to be talking about him. And there's also a whole uproar that happened at a Saints and Sinners book situation where there were people who were getting I'm going to say fresh with some of the authors. It was kind of a problem, but one of the things that I did really appreciate about the organization is that more than anything, what I heard from them is not about how there was a sexual assault at their event, but how they were like, hey, guess what? Because there was one, we're going to make sure that we take steps to protect our authors and things of that nature. And honestly, I really respect that. I appreciate that. But let's be honest, what am I actually nerding out about this week? I cannot wait to show you. And it is not always going to be something that I have acquired, but look at my Marvel Through the Years book. Look at it. Look at how cool my book is. Look at it. It has everything, okay? It starts at 1939 and goes all the way to like 2021, okay? So like here, I have made a point. Oop, I think I knocked the microphone. Anyway, I have only grabbed a few pages that I think are cool because I feel like I could probably talk about this for like a while. So like here, so like at the very beginning, right? You're just like, oh, look, it's the Welcome to Marvel. And look, here we go. It's Namor. Sue Storm has had to deal with this guy for a while, and he's been here since Jump. And also, Namor not getting introduced until pretty late in the MCU is actually kind of weird to think about it since he started out in 1939. But continuing on, like, I love this book because it has giant things like, look at these panels, okay? Remember when AM and I were talking about how there were a whole bunch of cowboys and like monster things that they were doing when they were moving away from superheroes? Here we go. That's this. That because it's like these are all like in the 1950s, right? Okay. So I also have it's a really, really cool book, and you're gonna see a whole bunch of like things coming out of it because it actually goes year by year and breaks everything down that happened month by month of like the things that happened. So for example, in March of 1966, that's where we first get to meet Galactus. And also, Galactus looked absolutely ridiculous when he first came out. Why is this man red and green? Just because I am red and green doesn't mean that Galactus gets to be okay. When whoever updated him to purple and silver, good job. This man looks kind of weird like this. But okay, so like this book, it's got a lot of stuff, right? It's got everything like really fully laid out when everything happens. In fact, here's a whole page that like I am sure that Eric Voss is gonna be a huge fan of. Boom. Look, this is when we are first introduced to Mephisto. Oh yeah, we got everybody in here. Everybody. All of the introductions of all of the people. It is so cool. And not only do we have all of the introductions of all of the people and everything, one of the things that they have that I think is really cool too is occasionally what they have is these big full page scenes where of like really iconic issues and such. So like double like this is a full-size hardback book. It's a substantive amount of book here. And it's so cool to be able to see that. Like here, for example, like here's like you saw Shield. Here is, like Wanda having a full meltdown because of the fact that Vision has got. This is so cool. I can't stop talking about how cool this book is. I have been sitting like because seriously, I've been talking about this for over a week. AM has gotten a little bit like, please stop telling me about this book that you've gotten because I'm trying to get this lady to stop having picnics with me. Several of my other friends are just like, yes, I get the fact that you really like this book. Why are you telling me about this? And I'm like, because it has Days of Future Past. It has all of the things. Like it has everything broken down, and it's so amazing. There's so many different like things that I feel as a full Marvel nerd I could really like delve into, get really deep into. I could sit here and have like a whole Captain America wants you to like, serve your country thing. Like they have so many very cool items in this book. I can't reference like this is my favorite impulse buy ever. So, but yeah, it's like my Marvel year by year visual history. It does have a forward by Stan Lee, and I'm going to go and take a break because honestly, I have done such a huge promo for this book that one, I need to swallow some water, and two, I need to pause and flip through a few more pages. So, I'll be right back and we can work on upping your nerd cred. Hi, welcome back. So, This week, since I still have the comms, I'm going to do another deep dive into a lady who is living her most complex life. But let's be honest, we have honestly been a little bit Marvel heavy, and also I apologize to audio only listeners who probably did not get a chance to see how very cool the images are in the book, but I would encourage you to go and look at the YouTube, do some Spotify, make sure you tell your friends about how cool this book is that I have, things of that nature. Anyway, like I said, we've been a little Marvel heavy, and I'd like to make sure that we get a chance to throw a little bit more shine onto, I'll say, one of DC's most unusual canon characters. And she's unusual in part because this character is one of the very, very rare kinds of comic book characters whose true origin aren't actually in the pages of a graphic novel. We're talking about the clown princess of crime, Harley Quinn. That's right. Harleen Frances Quinzel was created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, and she actually made her debut in Batman the Animated Series, the episode Joker's Favor, on September 11th, 1992. 1992, just so we're all on the same page. Okay, like, she was 9 when that one thing happened, okay? It's not her fault. Anyway, sure, she was supposed to be a one-off gag character henchman for the Joker, but the thing is that Paul Dini had designed the character after, a role his college friend Arlene Sorkin had actually played. Both Harleen and Arlene are nice Jewish girls, with Arlene's Brooklyn background and bubbly voice becoming two of the character's signature aspects. In fact, Arlene did such an amazing job of bringing this animated character to life that the fans, clamored for her to become a recurring, I should clarify, not just recurring, but canon character. And this was in the early 90s too, okay? When a bunch of us were still having to actually physically write to Stick Stickly. Getting enough buzz for her was work, okay? She did stay in the animated series canon for quite some time, and she really made the big leap into the full Batman canon, active, real character in the Batman universe in the No Man's Land arc in 1990s, and it brought her into the Rogues Gallery with the same standing as everybody else who was in the Rogues Gallery. And actually, as we're speaking of Batman's Rogues Gallery specifically, she has actually properly gone to medical school psychiatrist. Actually, a lot of Batman's foes have a lot of terminal degrees, and the kind of life of crime that they are doing to pay off those student loan debts, I don't condone it, but I definitely get it. I get it. Anyway, she was probably actually still licensed to prescribe something to the rest of the Rogues Gallery for at least a while. She could have done that, but I'm guessing that the state has revoked that license. But for real, Harley Quinn actually was fully practicing as a MD, graduated from medical school psychiatrist at Blackgate, working with Dr. Jonathan Crane. Yeah, that's right. Scarecrow was her mentor before both of them went crazy, I suppose. And later, Harley was transferred to Arkham. Now, in both Blackgate and Arkham, she was assigned to treat the Joker. And the Clown Prince of Crime slowly manipulated her. Therapists falling in love with their patients is bad. Straight up bad. Transference isn't great in a therapeutic relationship, and usually is something where it's patient to therapist. It is really bad when it goes therapist to patient, and oh boy, does this lady take a turn. The downside, though, is she is actually brilliant in ways that aren't really appreciated, too. So, for example, during the Mad Love one-shot, where we found out about Harley's backstory, We also found out that she's actually gotten closer than just about anybody else to actually killing Batman. Joker had developed and rejected a plan because he thought that he could get Batman to die by piranhas, but he couldn't figure out how to get the piranhas to smile because piranhas, if you look at their faces, they are always like, meh. Harley had actually solved the problem by hanging Batman upside down, which would mean that their frowns would look vaguely like smiles. You turn your frown upside down. Now, realistically speaking, the only reason that Batman was able to escape this is because the Joker was wildly egomaniacal, and he was actually the one who was kind of obsessed with being the one to finish Batman himself. And Harley would have succeeded. She took the plan, figured out what was wrong with it, fixed it. But he stopped her and actually slapped her with a swordfish because he said that there's always someone who doesn't get the joke. Freed Batman and kept it pushing. And later Batman had actually said himself, she almost had me, arms and legs chained, dizzy from the blood rushing to my head. I had no way out other than convincing her to call you. I know your massive ego wouldn't let anyone else take the honor of killing me, although you have to admit, she came closer than you ever did, Puddin'. I'm just saying, we need to make sure that we're putting some respect on Harleen's name, okay? And now, I will say, though, that Harley Quinn did give in to the manipulations of the Joker because, let's really be honest, if you are taking a dive into a vat of chemicals because your weird boyfriend did, that's not a standard step on the relationship escalator. Sorry. But Harley mostly has used it as an opportunity to fully embrace her chaotic neutral realignment. And I'm not kidding about this. There was a point in which Harley was in the middle of a fight with Black Canary. And then she realized that Black Canary was pregnant. And then Harley said, nah, I'm done. I'm not fighting you anymore. It was actually a really sweet moment because Harley is talking to Black Canary and has also made sure that there's a trash can nearby for oops. And Harley mentioned that she remembered how rough pregnancy can be in the body. Is it a reference to Harley going through med school? Is it a child we didn't really get to meet? We'll come back to that. But with Black Canary, Harley came and visited her in the hospital after the baby was born. And let's be honest, again, that chaotic neutral means that she's not necessarily trying to be cute and caring about what other people think. And so she brought Black Canary a muzzle as a baby gift. Diana did not particularly appreciate it at first, but then Harley kind of reminded her that if mom screams are sonic blasts, ... Anyway, she took the muzzle. Also, side note, there does seem to be some kind of different continuity questions about whether or not she has, in fact, actually had a kid, because in Batman Beyond, she has twin granddaughters, and in Justice, she hid her pregnancy from Joker, so maybe she has, in fact, gone through that before. But we don't really see her with children, generally speaking. Do I think that CPS, or whatever the version is that you guys have local, wherever Gotham is located, should get involved if there's random, villains' children running around? Yes. But what I will also say is that Harley herself is a great pet mom to her hyenas, Bud and Lou. Okay? She has actually shown on multiple occasions that she'll stand up to Joker more for their safety than for her own. She's not maybe the best at self-preservation, but if she loves you, you have her axe. Well, mallet. She'll always go to bat for you? That works. Also, I would like to take a moment to talk about the stylistic choices that Harley has had imposed upon her, available to her, however you want to take it. Because she's always been one to have a signature piece that is just unmistakably her, okay? We're all very familiar with the Harley Quinn jester costume that she picked out for herself and It was to point out because her name was Harley Quinn, and yes, I recognize that they probably came up with Harley Quinn as her name, and so that they could do the Harley Quinn outfit. That's not the point. The point is, she has generally been speaking wearing the Harley Quinn jester costume with the red and black jumpsuit situation, where she's got a domino mask, she's got the bell hat. She typically actually maintains the clown pink for quite some time. But generally speaking, she's got a theme, red and black diamonds. And she actually like sticks with that theme for quite some time too. But then when she starts breaking into like the video game continuities and getting a bit more fleshed out, she actually starts to shift away from this jumpsuit that honestly really requires hammer space for her weapon storage. And she also takes off the bell hat and shows off the blonde pigtails. And typically, whatever color scheme that she is working on at that point, she actually has dip dyed on her blonde pigtails. So she tends to switch between red and black and pink and blue, depending upon whatever era she is in and her current artist. But I think it's really worth pointing out that Harley's gear has largely shifted in way from just skin tight, look at me Joker to more of a roller derby style. And I think that fits in really well with the way that she's shifted her personality, her entire personality, from being wrapped up in Mr. J and look at me, Mr. J, and love me, Mr. J, to being her own person. And honestly, I really like how you can really see the shift in her persona and how Margot Robbie played Harley in the various movies she's done. So think about it, okay? In Suicide Squad, like the 2016 version, right? Harley's given the opportunity to wear civilian clothes after her time in jail, where she is sipping tea and doing gymnastics. Okay. And so she pulls out her trunk and she wears hot pants and a Daddy's Little Monster crop top. Come on, guys. I mean, really, they slow pan her gymnastics moves. All of her fight choreography was more interested in, like, ooh, look at me. I'm Harley Quinn. Storytelling, who cares about that, right? There's even a moment where, like, they're like she's highlighting, like, hey, Suicide Squad, we're bad guys. And it's because she broke a window because she saw a cute purse while they were in the middle of a mission. What I will say, though, is that Margot Robbie really loved the character so much, and she actually worked to produce a standalone, separate-ish movie where the Joker doesn't even show up. Birds of Prey. The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. I mean, realistically speaking, it's a fantastic movie. Honestly, I love it. It's how I have explained to my husband how to make the perfect egg sandwich. And yes, in the movie, her pigtails are actually shorter because of a breakup haircut, but you can see that she's actually wearing clothes that are comfortable and that she can actually fight in. And her fights are way more interestingly choreographed because why would Harley Quinn have a whole ass confetti or smoke bomb gun to get people out of her way and also be whimsical, And one of the things that I really like about it is that they kept her character growth in the Suicide Squad too, like the one that came out in 2021. I don't know why they both had similar names but she's wearing clothes. She is offered and turned down a toxic relationship where she could go and be like, the crazy queen again, and she turns that down. And she's willing to go pretend so that she can let her friends come and rescue her after she's actually rescued herself in a full-length ball gown. Okay? Harley has really just moved from just a costume change. Like, it's a lot of character growth. And some of it is really just in part because Margot Robbie really worked for Birds of Prey to be female-led, female-produced, female-directed. And you can tell how different Harley is because she dressed for herself and not for Joker and not for the camera. And she was so much more comfortable and able to get stuff done on her own. Also, on that Joker front, we do need to talk about how the whole physician heal thyself ended up applying to her, okay? I realized that, yes, After a time, she was able to recognize that the relationship with Joker wasn't healthy, probably because of the constant active abuse and disregard coupled with love bombing. It is a very, very real cycle of abuse relationship. Also, PSA side note, it is this podcast's official position that asking why she didn't just leave is ignoring the very, very real world statistics that it takes at least 5 to 7 attempts for an abuse victim to leave, and that the most dangerous time in the life of somebody being abused is when they try to leave. Even people who have resources, who have knowledge about what's happening, have struggled to leave. And we do not brook victim blaming here, okay? Harley left. Go team her. And in fact, when Harley finally left the Joker, it was actually pretty solidly a huge deal. So we'll note that the proper clean break came in Harley Quinn Volume 2, number 25 in 2002. That's where she really walks away from him for good. But again, 2013 onwards is where we're really getting more of her time as an independent and not necessarily satellite character, dealing with Joker's mess. Okay. So again, that's where we're seeing, Joker does show up in Suicide Squad, but after that, he's not really a part of what she's got going on. Right. And also, let's be honest, some of the shenanigans that Harley gets into absolutely could not have happened if he was still in her orbit. Okay. So there's a point in time in which Harley is actually spending some time in an Amazon-run shelter. The actual Themysciran Amazons, Jeff Bezos is too busy with trying to make his new wife a Bond girl and sending Katy Perry to space for 11 minutes to actually worry about women who are escaping intimate partner violence and probably don't have anything. Okay. So in this time, though, Harley was actually able to take a trip to Themyscira, which is very cool. But it's technically because Granny Goodness was holding the Olympians hostage, but that's a whole other conversation, and I don't know what to say. I told you the gods like to cosplay as men in some of these comics. So we do have also an unnecessary girls can't be friends for in the long term kind of mess in Sirens, which is mostly because there's a whole lot of let's work together and then I'm going to betray you for this and I'm going to betray you for that. And then we're both going to betray you for this. Come on. There is a scene in there though that is great. It's in, I want to say it's in Songs of the Sirens of that setting though, where Selena basically puts a somewhat desiccated Pamela into some water to revive her because Pamela, Poison Ivy, had been kidnapped and buried alive. And Selena was like, well, if your plants sometimes you think that they're dead, you actually just have to give them some water. It turns out that she was right. But aside from, that part in Sirens and, a turn in the Suicide Squad, which let's point out that she did not particularly choose, but she managed to get on the other side of it. Harley has actually spent some time figuring out a little bit who she is and is drifting back to what is her original calling, helping villains become better. Okay, she's helping villains become better in villainy. I said drifting back to her original calling, okay? She's helping them focus their crimes against the people who can kind of afford losses and the people who are actually perpetuating a lot of different kinds of violence against the people writ large, okay? Wage theft is a huge problem. It is way worse than any of the other theft options that are out there. Look it up. Anyway, Harley Quinn, she is chaotic neutral. So let me take a quick break and I'll be back to tell you what's coming next. Hi, welcome back to our thrilling conclusion. The debuts and premieres and anniversaries. Oh my! Okay, I'm being silly, but here's a few things that are actually happening in the DC and Marvel multiverses this week if you want to add them to your calendar. August 23rd, 1942, we have Kid Eternity's origin in Kid Eternity #1, right? So it's a really weird story that begins with a kid dying before their time. and gets weirder as it goes along. Remember in Suicide Squad when I guess Cara Delevingne's character would change whenever she'd say Enchantress and like her hand would flip and be a whole thing? So apparently he can turn into anybody from history by saying eternity. That's a lot. So moving on from there, though, we also have 1940. August 25th is when the Boy Wonder makes his first appearance. That is, Dick Grayson appears in Detective Comics number 38. And honestly, not wanting to wear them little booties after a while, it makes sense. They were kind of goofy looking. So we also have in 1983, August 28th, Ralph Dibny, aka the Elongated Man, married Sue Dearborn. It was a beautiful thing in Justice League of America Annual number 1. I would like to say Mazel, but honestly, they are no longer with us, mostly. There was a bit of a ghost situation, and the Indigo Corps got involved. But while they were alive, they were really happy. All right, here's the thing that you're actually looking forward to, though, on August 28th, okay? Jack Kirby's birthday. One of the more prolific and well-known Marvel creators, Jacob Kurtzberg, aka Jack Kirby, was born on August 28th, 1917. And honestly, as hardworking as he was, I think every Virgo should be out here proud to claim him, okay? Prolific. So, outside of that, premiere-wise, I want to try to go see Honey Dote this weekend, mostly because you have Chris Evans and Aubrey Plaza and Margaret Qualley. Yes. I've seen Aubrey and Margaret at the premieres. They look like they're having a lot of fun together. Yes. At least that's my plan. I don't know what your plan is, but that's mine. Anyway, listeners, we have unfortunately come to the end of our podcast. I know. You're clearly devastated about it. How could it be over so soon? Well, good news. Our next episode will be coming out next week. And also, of course, you're more than welcome to listen to this episode again if that's not fast enough. Nerd cred does take time to build, but I would say you should avoid going into a life of crime with a partner you call Puddin', especially if they like explosives, because their nickname might get literal. And now is the time to mention that we have an Instagram at Up Your Nerd Cred Pod. We're on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and we're working on expanding our reach. If you have a burning question that you want us to discuss so that you can up your nerd cred, make sure that you like and subscribe and leave comments. And if we pick your question, we'll make sure that we shout you out at the beginning of the discussion segment. Also, please make sure that you get your friends and your family and your coworkers and and all the people that you trust not to be weird about listening to the same podcast as you. And this is where AM usually steps in and says, good night, everybody.